Welcome to Cedar Club, Quincy's favorite local bar. A friendly corner bar with a laid-back atmosphere and affordable drinks. It's the perfect spot for a great time. With entertainment galore, including shuffleboard, golden tee, pool, foosball, and winning gaming machines. Cedar Club's latest edition is the best spot to catch your favorite game. Great drinks, great friends, and great times. Cedar Club, 20th and Cedar in Quincy. Hey everybody, we are here on a very special assignment, right? We are doing our a very long edition of Coffee Talk. So lucky you, lucky us, we get to spill the tea thanks to EFB. Extra long version today.
They all are hearing you say extra long version and they're like, oh, great.
Yo, they're like, all right, might as well cut it now. No, seriously. Okay, but for those of you who don't like listening,
bye.
See you later. We wish you well. For those of you who are still here listening to this extra long version, we got some good stuff to talk about, I think.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so let's start with the first thing, unless you have something.
Nope,
okay.
all you.
All right, so with warmer weather, of course, we're going to see more animals, right? More animals are out and about. Could be strays, could be family pets, could be feral, right? I mean, feral raccoons, and things like that. So
wildlife is among us.
Yes. So with the increase in temperatures comes the increase in animals being outside, and also animals getting hit.
Yes.
Right?
We talked about this once before. It probably wasn't the greatest thing to bring up, you know, because it was like one of those wah, wah,
yeah,
wah.
It is a wah, wah, but it's necessary to talk about. And I think even on the way here, I saw 3 or 4 animals in the road. And I know that...
Wait, where were they?
So like Harrison, and then...
but not exactly where were they located? Were they in the road?
In the road.
Okay.
Yeah, so not against the side of the curb, or what are you thinking?
Well, that is part of the jurisdiction of where the roadkill lies.
Oh, so so there has to be specific longitude and latitudes of these animals for them to be taken care of?
Not exactly, but from my understanding, I did a little digging, and what I understand of this is, so when you see an animal that is presumed dead, it might not always be dead. Even though it seems like, okay, yes, this has been ran over and over again, there's still protocol to it. And the protocol is you call the non-emergency police number.
Okay, that's step number 1.
Yes.
Non-emergency police. Okay.
And the reason why it goes to non-emergency instead of going straight to your city or your county or whatever it may be is, well, 1, they will determine whether or not it's city or county. Okay. So non-emergency. They go there to determine whether or not the animal's dead, because if it's not
say it's
dead,
plain possum.
But if it's not dead, then they decide, you know, is this someone's pet? Is there a collar on it? Do we contact the pet owner? First. And if it is clearly just roadkill and it's in someone's yard, then it's the
private property
homeowners. The homeowner has to take care of it. They will suggest, you know, maybe you have to pay someone to take care of this, or, you know, you just take care of it yourself. I don't really know exactly how that works, because you're not supposed to bury things in your yard in city limits, but who knows. Then if it's not the, you know, if that's not the case, and it's not a pet, and it's not roadkill in your yard, and it's in the middle of the street, then Central Services needs to take care of it.
Okay. So, but still I call the non-emergency line.
Yes.
Okay, and the reason this came up is because I saw a friend of mine post that there is a deceased cat that has been there for days. She's called on it. I don't know if once or multiple times. She said it looks like someone's pet.
This would definitely be the reason why the protocol happens this way.
Sure. So then, but the cat is dead
and decaying, probably,
and kids are walking by it on the way to the bus stop, and it's ruining days of these kids, which I can totally empathize with. What a sad way to start your day, right? You go out and then there's this lovely little kitty that's been there for days. So she called, I believe she called the non-emergency line, I could be wrong, and was told to let nature run its course.
Yeah, that's not how that's supposed to happen.
So
that pissed me off.
I know
because
that, like,
I'm like,
both-
all right, I get it. Nobody wants to deal with these animals, and I get it that there are more important.
Like they're inundated with stuff is what
I
they
get
try
it.
to say. But this is
This
like
is the
both
stuff.
this is also it's
It
your
falls
job.
into-
It falls into your job.
It falls into the same thing we've been talking about with, making sure that the right people are being held accountable for structural soundness, for
Basically,
taller
city codes.
weeds, for things.
All city codes are
all-
not being enforced
Yes.
unless they want to be enforced.
And that's
unless
the
they're,
thing.
It's like, certain city codes get enforced. For example, I would say,
and depending on who's involved.
yeah, like, having music outside past
Mm-hmm.
a certain time.
Right.
They'll
100%.
enforce that.
Yeah.
Especially if the right person is complaining.
Well, and if the right person calls about a dead cat, they're definitely going to take care of it.
Yeah.
So I think this.
How do I get on that list?
Right? That's
How
what
am
I'm
I the right
thinking.
person?
Yeah, I feel like we all need to be privy to how we get on that list. I don't necessarily know that I want to be on it, but
To get stuff done. It's kind of sad that kind of is how that works.
Yeah.
Because we see it with our very own eyes.
yeah, if I were on that list, I would call and be like, "Hey, it's me. Go take care of this on behalf of other people," because I feel like that's just your duty.
Do you remember when we first talked about the roadkill thing, and I talked about the possum, which is in the middle of the road, and the snowplow went around it?
Around it.
And I have
No.
the pictures of the.
No.
Oh,
I
yes.
remember talking about it. It's
The
like, come
the
on, man.
snowplow. Yeah, missed that. You
They didn't
clearly
miss it.
tell it was there.
They dodged it.
Yeah, maybe I guess you would kind of want to dodge it. You don't want animal guts on your plow. I don't know.
Yeah, but then it should be a ring, ding, ding, ding. Hey, Central Services, there's a possum out here. I need you to move. I just swerved around it with my plow.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, old possum's still there though.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Get out.
It's like barely there because
you take a
nature has been taking its course.
Yeah, but come on.
And I didn't call myself because I feel like I'm the person that calls for a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And the thing that takes precedent to me was, when and around that area where I live, there was like, I'm pretty sure a shake and bake system found, and it
Yeah.
took forever to get that cleaned up.
Yeah, you don't want to call in all your
Yeah.
quote unquote favors.
Exactly.
Which
Not
is kind
for-
of what it seems like it is.
Yes.
Like, come do me a favor. No, MFers, we
Yes.
pay you for this.
Yes. Yeah. I think some of this, like, again, with the discussion, like you said, this falls into that safe and livable housing thing.
Yes.
There are ordinances that are already in place.
Yes.
And, they are not enforced until they have to be
Right.
enforced. Like when you have maybe a spokesperson that is trying to help you out
Yeah.
or something, that's when that is enforced. I don't know how that works either.
And I'm not dogging on, I have some friends who work in Central
Same.
Services, and I'm not dogging on that, but
Part of it, though, is the lack, like, I'm pretty sure, like I've said over and over again, there's 3 of them that enforce it.
yeah.
Do we need more enforcers? Do we need to get I'm sorry to suggest this. Oh my gosh, I know.
Doge?
No, that, like, maybe officers and firefighters get involved to do these city codes.
Yeah.
The firefighters are already doing city codes, and I know, like, that suggestion, I'm sure I just got, like,
You totally got blasted.
Yeah, like,
You're
they're like,
blasting.
"Ugh."
Yeah.
But for example, just yesterday, I had 5 cop cars around my bar looking for someone, and it was a nonviolent offender. 5
Oh, I
officers,
think I know what this is.
But 5
Overkill.
officers.
Overkill.
Yeah.
I wanted to tie in roadkill somehow, but I couldn't. But anyway, roadkill and overkill, right? It's like, come on.
But yeah, maybe let's. And I know there's protocol to that when you arrive at
Yeah.
certain situations and things like that. But
we don't want to be uninformed.
I kind of. Oh yeah, I don't want to be talking. I wouldn't want to be uninformed.
We don't want to be uninformed, but logic says there are solutions that don't require a lot of rocket science or
let's
policy
fix the
change.
protocol.
Yeah.
If it's the protocol that's getting in the way, or the policy that's
Can we
getting in
see
the
the
way,
protocol?
can't we change it? Are we not of any power?
Yes, we are. That's what I mean. But I think it's like the enforcer. Who's the enforcer
On that, it's this,
on all of it?
right.
So like When you're the enforcer for like central services, is that like a manager of central services? You're like the enforcer of that, or does somebody dictate what you do as central services?
Yeah, I believe somebody dictates.
I want to find out who the dictator is.
that, and then also, like, again, you have city code enforcers too.
Yeah. Well, I know the enforcers are like a separate department, but what all falls under them? And do they have metrics of how much they're actually getting done and to tell if they have enough resources or not?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean?
No.
Because if 3 is not getting the job done on structural ordinances, tall grass, I know we had this conversation a while ago, roadkill, I would like to know what ordinances are being enforced and how long it takes. And because it's like, oh, we love all these studies. Let's study the efficiency of these departments that obviously should be kind of answering to the public. We pay their salary, right? So we should have some say in what's going on. And if they're overloaded, okay, then we should probably look at getting something else. If the public deems it's important to not have these animals lying in the road, or if we deem it important to have, you know, the
Safe and livable
other
housing
the other
enforced.
ordinances enforced. I mean, it's like, well, if you can't do it, we need to get someone who can.
Yeah.
Whether that means expanding or holding someone accountable or having an enforcer.
Yeah.
The enforcer. I don't know. I think
But it is a bad look for Quincy.
it is, and it doesn't seem like a big deal until you're like that animal lover who has to drive by it and it ruins your day and
Or
it
you-
should be taken care of, and there's just no reason. There's no reason that it's not.
Or you're seeing 3 on your
Yeah.
6, mile trek
Yes.
to work. That says something
Right.
about what is
And
going
I know
on.
that it could have happened right before my drive, which would seem like really bad luck for me, like a bad omen, all these 3 animals, I doubt that happened.
Yeah.
And I know you don't have somebody going out every day looking for roadkill, but if there's a schedule, maybe make us privy to it so we can discuss. And then maybe have, I got a great idea. Then you have like a tracker. People can just go on and ding, there's roadkill here. Then you don't have to drive around and look for it. You have a list of things. And then you just send people out
Sure.
there. Like,
Or also take the phone call and don't say, let nature. Let's just
that's-
let nature run its course.
that's just plain customer service and lack thereof there. It's like, okay, if your job is to answer the phone, at least lie and say, I'll get that to the appropriate people.
Yeah.
Don't say let nature run its course.
Yeah.
That's just,
Yeah.
I don't like it. Anyway, okay, ding, next subject.
Okay, sorry. I'm going to still end it on poor kitty because it is sad.
Yes.
It did have a collar on it, or they think it might be.
Well, she said that it doesn't look feral because it looks fairly
Well-fed.
healthy and
Aw.
clean, and yeah. So, yeah, and not that it's different, but it is because you don't want I would hate for my kiddo to have to look at that every day. Of course,
Yeah.
now if I were that kitty's owner, I would go out and probably take care of it
Isn't
myself.
it strange
but-
that if it were a dog, that would be totally different?
Yeah. Well, one time I saw a deer
It's like
down
the
myself.
value of.
The value of the animals. Well, and that's based on probably the sheer numbers of feral,
But you saw a deer where?
It was down on like South Park Drive
Yes, I
or
remember
RJ
that.
Peters, and I was like, is no one going to remove this giant deer? Like, this is not one day.
We're in. Oh, I know. It was 3 days.
It was disgusting. And I was like, not only is it like through a city park, it was giant, like butted up against the set. People walk there all the time. I was like, this is...
It took a while to get the plan. Actually, it took a while. All right, now we dig.
Okay, so dang, all right, so we were talking about being uninformed. We are uninformed. That's
Yeah.
what's so great about this. We get to talk out of our asses every week about things that we want to change but don't necessarily have the knowledge or the capacity or
But
the
we
resources.
question things,
Yes.
and I think we make people their wheels turn, just like ours are turning,
Sure.
and question things without letting things just go and sweep it under the rug.
Yes.
Too, because that tends to happen. I think.
Status quo. It's like, well, that's how it's always been, so we're just going to not question anything and not throw out any ideas.
And here we are on coffee.
Right? Well, and it's like, okay, it's not that we just throw things out to kick up dust or to,
But to inform.
spill the tea. We also bring solutions, and I think sometimes pretty rock solid ideas.
Yes.
May not all be feasible or doable, but I do think rather than just going out and complaining about a situation, we try to highlight it, Then we try to bring in people who know what they're talking about. Then we admit when we're wrong sometimes. And
I think we admit when we're wrong.
I do
often.
too. But I think it's nice that we have a platform that actually some people
Tune into.
I think
to
some people
be
respect it.
Informed. I think, yes, I think they do.
Yeah, some people. I mean, if you don't, I can kind of understand why, because we do a lot of times just bring up topics that we aren't 100% versed in, but it's not just for something to talk about or to make people feel bad or to get people in trouble. A lot of it is because we want to see something good come out of it, and a lot of it is local with our tax dollars. Right?
Yeah.
Supposedly being spent on this stuff. So we
Yeah.
want to make sure that we're kind of being the voice for all people and saying, hey, something's wrong here. Maybe it's not priority, but yeah.
I enjoy what we do here.
I do too, 100%. So the uninformed thing came from a comment about the rent prices we were talking about. And yeah, again, I never claimed to be some kind of economics professor or anything, but logically, these solutions that we talk about seem kind of, logical.
And you said, what was your suggestion again? And it was logical. Like,
Well, I think
found.
before you create any, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
Okay. Before you create any, well, when you're looking at a study, okay, and we're looking at what kind of housing we need, how is the study done? Because I think there's a lot of math that should go into it when you're talking about median income, what the demographics in Quincy look like should probably have some determining factor in what kind of housing we need,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And
So-
everything that we have been fed back, though, is the fact that, like, we need a medium, like, housing in the, we need housing for people,
Mid-level.
yes.
Yeah. What's
Mid
that?
to upper is what they're even saying.
What's that?
Where, I mean, I don't know exactly, but, you know, for example, the apartment complex, people were throwing out numbers, but it wasn't determined necessarily, but
They were just kind of arbitrary, but
it was based on the fact that the medium income or whatever, the medium need was, you know, looking for apartments around the 1,200
right.
mark.
I don't know if that's right.
I mean, based on our stories of, you know, safe and livable housing, this, and this, and looking around town at some of the available apartments that are in that range, is that really what we need? I don't know.
And it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive, I guess, if you have a developer that's coming in and wants to do this, but what's the business plan look like? What are the needs that he's serving, especially if he's not local? Because I think that just spells disaster.
Another
right?
thing people were saying is that the the young adult would rather live in an apartment complex like that because it's more conducive to their lifestyle, this, and this. And I would argue that. I come in, and I'm not saying like this is the study, but I come in contact with a lot of young adults in the bar world, through here too. And I think their ultimate goal always is to own their own house, own their own property.
The American dream.
They want the yard because they want the dog. I don't know very many Quincyans. I mean, I'm not trying to, but everyone I know loves or wants a dog.
Oh yeah, I've seen people live in their cars because they
their
couldn't take
dog
their
is more
dog.
important.
100%.
So if that is, you know, I feel like you're not taking in the Quincy mentality when you are throwing that out there that, you know, young people want to live in apartments. Do they want to, or is that their only option because these apartment complexes are the most affordable?
Yeah.
And I still say most affordable because, again, $1,200 for an apartment complex, I don't know.
That seems like a lot.
Or an apartment in an apartment complex, not the apartment. Yeah, I don't know.
It seems like a lot. And also,
It's more than any rent I have ever paid. And like I said, I haven't rented in the last 9 years.
yeah, it's changed.
But I rented some very nice places that were ranch-style houses, fenced-in backyard, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it was under $1,000. Granted, I think, you know, again, it's unheard of, like you said, but put that into perspective.
Yeah.
And how much does that rent for now? Based on what you're saying with a 1,200 apartment, then rent would for that place now is $3,000 a month or something,
Right.
which it's not.
No.
But
And then we dictate it because of what we're willing to settle for. Right?
yeah,
So it's kind of a lose-lose until you get people that are like, you know what, we're gonna do right.
yes,
So I think, I was talking to Luke and I was like, even if you built, and again, this is gonna sound uninformed because I know everything's expensive, but without shooting for the moon or pretending to shoot for the moon and making things look nice but not be like super actually nice. Because you can do like kind of the facade.
Like a
type stuff.
facade?
Yeah, it's like the facade of the nice apartment that everybody's like, ooh, and this is only $1,000 a month, and then you find out, okay, my tile is cracking. It's
Yeah.
not really tile. It's like, okay, there's a lot of
or the drywall just.
yeah, and I'm not saying anything bad about contractors, but it's like, okay, well, if you're gonna build it like this, then charge the rent to be according with that. Don't shoot for this. Don't shoot for the moon because you can. Let's try to help out some folks. I don't
Also,
know. And then
remember,
I don't
things
know.
don't last, like you
Yeah.
just said. If you're going to build it like that, like everyone says, they don't build things like they used to.
Yeah.
And I think that goes for this too, especially with shrinkflation, inflation, all that stuff. You are going to, I don't want to say cut corners, but you do. The quality of
Yeah.
this isn't the same, and things aren't built to last.
And also with the preconceived notion of they're not going to take care of it. So I think there's so many different variables that go into play when you're building or renting or as a tenant. There's just so much to unpack there. I feel like every time I think about it, I go back and forth on.
Yeah, I see both sides.
Yeah, and it's like there's got to be a solution, and I am such a solutions-based person that it drives me insane that
Yeah.
I don't have one for this. It drives me insane. But I do think that if we do have people in place that are getting paid to enforce these codes, we do need to hold them accountable.
Absolutely.
And that's on all fronts.
Yeah.
All fronts. Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of things that aren't built to last, the solar
Oh,
farm.
solar farm.
So you
How do you feel?
mentioned that
Oh.
you saw, was it a post or something that somebody said
Yeah, I think
one was
it's-
potentially going?
I think it's like a list of proposed zoning changes, which there's
Oh, wow.
a long list of them, which seems kind of counterintuitive to what Quincy is based on. Anyway, we won't get into that, but that's a long, I mean, it seems like all of these zoning ordinance, they're changing. And I know that things have changed from the past and we have to look to the future and blah, 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 commercial, residential, blah, 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 blah. But there on the list was a 36-acre solar farm going out Ellington Road by
Okay.
Terrapin Farms.
Is
Now, I don't know if that's
Yeah, it was just
It's just on the list.
It's a proposed.
Yeah.
So so what I've been told, so there are a lot of proposed solar farms coming into play.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, these applications are just pouring in right now because they know that there's a business for it
and incentives. You get huge incentives.
through the state.
Yeah.
The state, so solar farms, this is the one thing that the state regulates and like local government does not regulate. So generally, like your local government regulates more than the state when it comes to your gaming,
Marijuana.
yes, all these things. We can, like the state
Alcohol.
regulates, alcohol is a big one, but the state
Yeah.
regulates it and then we micro regulate it or, under that.
Okay.
So with solar farms, that's not the case. I know the county is working on making different like shielding advancements for when these things go to, when they end. So the solar farms can't last forever.
Yeah, they're not sustainable.
No. And these big panels can't go into landfills.
No.
China's not taking them back.
Nope.
So how do you disassemble these? And that's where
How do you recycle?
yeah,
Yeah.
the county's trying to come into place a plan of that because if you just leave it there and say the company crashes, which when there's hundreds of applications coming in,
The market is going to be
they're
saturated
going
eventually.
to crash.
Yeah.
So when that crashes, then what do you do with all this equipment? Further, there's probably metals in it that
Right.
taint your soil. This was intended for farming. Are we going to lose our farming to this? And there's nothing any state or any government regulation can do when I feel like so these I don't want to say these farmers, but people, the landowners, see that check from the solar company, and they don't really think to themselves the future 25 years from now, unless maybe that was your plan, is to sell and you don't care. But 25 years from now, we're going to lose a lot of farming land around here to these.
Also, with the personal, what's your personal opinion on solar?
I see it as green energy. I know that it's the state's only way of enforcing green energy, but it's not sustainable.
Is it green? That was going to be my question. It's kind of like the lithium batteries and stuff. Is it really green if you're? Have you seen that process?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, it's a nightmare. So, but then solar energy, because I know that it didn't start too long ago, but that you have people going door to door, and now they're popping up all over my neighborhood, and they're like, think about how much you'll save, and then I wonder how much it costs versus incentives, and then in 10 years when you have to replace the panels, how do you do that? How much does that cost? Are you really?
Is your company still going to be around in 10 years?
Are you saving that much money? I'd love to talk to somebody who has been. Actually, we'd have to almost wait for the life cycle of these things to see if it's actually going to be worth it in 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
The cost of manufacturing, disposal, replacement, maintenance. Like, what are all the things that go into it? Or was this just like hey, look at how fancy this is. You can save energy. Really?
I mean, it was also like maybe an easy fix too, by the saving energy. But I know the whole reason why they're coming to your resident and asking you if this is okay is because of like you said, the zoning. They have to agree to that, like say, yeah, we do want this in order for it to be rezoned.
Yeah.
And I know that some people would question, okay, well, what's this going to do to the value of my house?
Right.
And
well, mine was just talking about like residential solar panels and stuff like that. They're trying to sell. I mean, they're all over the place.
Well, they're trying to sell, this one that was just recently in the news was, I think there's one in the city that is being proposed, and it's right next to a residential neighborhood. So I know some of the concerns are, what is this going to do to my property value? Is it going to raise it for a little bit, and then it's going to decrease later when your metals are rotting away? I don't know if that's how that is. I
don't either.
I know that I wouldn't want one near me.
Again, it kind of is like the thing of, I don't really care if it goes somewhere in town, if it's going to do some good for people, but we have to think about the long-term repercussions of all things considered. And I think this one out by Terrapin, we were talking, you would think that, it sounds like a great idea, but again, they're not going to want that out with all of that like natural soil and the good stuff that they
put out.
Yeah.
And then I know I keep saying, what's this going to do? But what's it going to do for our agriculture in the future?
Yeah. I don't know. It all remains to be seen. But when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is gonna be some tea to spill. Because even though we are a little uninformed on it.
Which we'll get more informed on this, I promise. We'll bring somebody on to talk about it.
I would love to talk to someone who really knows, not a salesman, not a solar salesman, not someone who has bought into the program who thinks that they need to justify it. Someone who really knows their ins and outs of what it is and the repercussions and the benefits, because I'm sure there are multiple sides to the story.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
No.
I just want to know more. It just seems like it just seems like to everything that's good, there is a bad side, and I think we should all be a little more informed on the bad, because we get pushed the good. Because someone's profiting off of it, basically. That's what I think.
And if there's so many applications, this is easy money, quick fix, in my opinion.
It's like the OnlyFans of energy. I feel it's like, you know what? We're going to make some money by throwing out some solar panels, and it all looks good until you realize it doesn't just go away.
Yeah.
Right?
It certainly doesn't just go away.
Yeah.
So hopefully the state allows the county to put plans like that in place for our sake.
Yeah.
I'm not all about enforcing more government, but in this thing, it sounds like the government's out to protect us.
And if they are, then there have to be ordinances with these things. And who's going to enforce them? Right? I don't know. There's got to be. So we're going to need an enforcer somewhere along the line for the kitties,
Yes.
at least,
Yes.
and for the humans, of
Yeah.
course. But yeah. Well, this has been fun as always. I hope that we get to do more of this in the future because I
Yes.
love.
Extra long coffee
I
talks.
do. I love it. It gives me time to drink my coffee and chat with you about all things that we're uninformed on and informed. Either way, we're here to spill the tea, bring some light, inform, or just talk shit.
Yeah.
Which I love. All right. Well, I think that does it for today's
Coffee talk.
We'll catch you next time.
I feel like nothing changes if nothing changes, and it is time for a change. There's been a discrepancy in transparency over the last couple of years, especially, and the people deserve to know what is going on, where their tax dollars are going, what exactly they're being used for, and that too has been an issue. It shouldn't be a fight. It shouldn't be a question. This is how it is. You need to let us know what's going on. My name is April Azate, and I am running for City Council representing Ward 2 in Hannibal, Missouri.
Welcome out to Kelly's on Broadway tonight. We're drinking cold beer and it feels so right. I'll meet you out on Broadway underneath Shamrock Light. We're gonna have a good time on the patio tonight. There's a party down at Kelly's on Broadway tonight. We're drinking cold beer on a champagne night. We're feeling all alone and you got no place to go. So come down here and drink a beer on Kelly's patio. Kelly's a fun place to eat and drink. 2902 Broadway.
Welcome to the Abbey, a Quincy tradition. With 6 big screens, a new larger kitchen, and now more seating capacity, the Abbey is the place to be before, during, and after the big game. Come enjoy fan favorite appetizers, steaks, burgers, and a variety of daily food and drink specials. Can't join us? Carryout is available too. Now with a convenient drive-up window to better serve you. 1736 Spring in Quincy. Opens at 3 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday. Come join all your friends at the Abbey, a Quincy tradition.
The Liquor Booth is your home for a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits. The Liquor Booth has 2 locations in Quincy, 3520 Broadway and 1500 North 12th Street. The Liquor Booth, where it's always happy hour.
Instant Replay is your local sports bar. With 18 big screen TVs, we have all the sports packages from college games to pro games. We offer daily drink specials, and come check out the Bullpen, our newly renovated beer garden. Instant Replay, 2739 Chestnut in Quincy.
Are you looking for the perfect venue for your next special event? Check out Utopia Event Center. Utopia has a large banquet room and an awesome bar area, perfect for anything from birthday parties to formal corporate meetings. It also offers a photo booth, stage for a DJ or a live band, and a fully stocked bar, all for only $300. Check us out at utopiaeventcenter.com or call Barn at 217-430-6559 for more information. Utopia Event Center, 900 North 12th Street in Quincy.
The Tower, a great place to meet and eat. But did you know the Tower has one of the finest drink selections in our area? Along with its incredible Mexican menu, the Tower specializes in tequilas for every taste. Names like Patron, Cabo Wabo, and Hornitos. And don't forget the margaritas. On Mondays and Tuesdays, stop by and pick up a single topping pizza and get Tower margaritas to go. Enjoy the Tower at home or in our dining room, bar area, or the Tower's signature climate-controlled porch. The Tower Pizza and Mexican in Quincy.